The silence of space was shattered by the faint crackle of an emergency beacon. Captain Jace Mallory's ship, the Vanguard, drifted closer to the source. A debris field scattered across the void like a constellation of broken hopes. Among the shards of a destroyed vessel, something moved. Jace's heart skipped. Movement in Wreckage meant life. He manoeuvred his small salvage craft carefully through the floating metal, sensors pinging faint readings. Then he saw her, a small figure curled amidst twisted panels and shattered glass. Her skin was a pale violet hue, eyes closed, breathing shallow but steady. Alien, fragile, alone. Without hesitation, Jace activated his suit's thrusters and glided toward the wreck. He reached her quickly, gently pulling the girl into his arms. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing amber orbs full of fear and confusion. "Hey, I'm not going to hurt you," Jace said softly, voice calm, steady. "You're safe now." The girl didn't respond, just clung to him as if he was her only anchor in this vast cold emptiness. Back aboard the Vanguard, Jace worked swiftly to stabilize her. "Her name was Lyra," she whispered, "a survivor from a distant world torn apart by war. The Coalition forces labeled her kind dangerous, harbingers of destruction. But here, in the quiet hum of his ship, she was just a scared child." Jace's instincts told him to leave the politics behind. Here was someone who needed help, someone no one else wanted to save. The galaxy had hardened him over the years, trained him to prioritize mission over mercy. But in that moment, with Lyra's fragile hand gripping his, something softened. "I'm not leaving you," he promised. Days passed in the cramped quarters of the Vanguard. Lyra remained silent most of the time, eyes darting nervously at every sound. Jace learned to communicate slowly, gestures, gentle smiles, sharing food and warmth. One evening, as the ship drifted through the quiet dark, Lyra reached out and touched Jace's arm. It was a small act, but to him, it meant everything. "You're safe with me," he said, voice low. "We'll find a way." She looked up, hope flickering in her amber eyes, but danger shadowed their fragile peace. Coalition ships scanned the sector relentlessly, hunting survivors like Lyra. Jace knew it was only a matter of time before they found them. Still, he refused to abandon her. "We fight together," he said one night, preparing the ship for a jump to the nearest rebel outpost. Lyra nodded, strength growing in her gaze. In the vast darkness of space, two souls, human and alien, fragile and fierce, were bound by a simple truth: no one left behind. The Vanguard shuddered softly as it jumped out of the debris field and into the cold vastness of space. Captain Jace Mallory sat rigid in the pilot's chair, eyes fixed on the glowing star charts ahead. Beside him, Lyra curled up in a makeshift bed, her violet skin still pale but steadily gaining colour under the soft lights of the ship. Though she remained mostly silent, the tension in her amber eyes had softened, replaced by cautious trust. Jace allowed himself a rare moment of relief. They had escaped the immediate danger, but the galaxy outside was far from safe for a Zeraxi child like Lyra. Stories of her people were dark and relentless, branded as terrorists, instigators of chaos. The Coalition forces viewed them as threats to order, and any Zeraxi found was marked for capture or worse. But Jace didn't see a threat. He saw a frightened child who had survived something no one should endure. They needed allies, and fast. Jace keyed a secure comm channel and sent a discreet message to the nearest rebel outpost known for sheltering those hunted by the Coalition. It wasn't an invitation to safety, it was a beacon of hope. Requesting immediate docking clearance and medical assistance, Jace's voice was firm, but his heart raced with anxiety. Every moment they spent in the open increased the risk of discovery. Lyra watched the blinking lights on the console, curiosity flickering in her eyes. For the first time she spoke in a trembling voice, her accent unfamiliar but hauntingly melodic. "Why? Protect me?" Jace glanced over, a faint smile breaking his stoic demeanour. "Because no one deserves to be left behind, especially not a kid." She stared at him, the question lingering in the air. As the Vanguard approached the rebel outpost, a sprawling asteroid station hidden in the shadow of a gas giant, the tension in the ship thickened. Jace prepared for the worst. Rebels were known for their cause, but trust was hard-earned, and suspicion was often sharper than any blade. They docked smoothly, and a small team of rebels greeted them. Among them was Celis, a battle-hardened medic with sharp eyes and a softer heart than her reputation suggested. "You brought her in tight," Celis said, scanning Lyra quickly but gently. "She's lucky you found her when you did," Jace nodded. "They'll come looking for her. The Coalition doesn't forget." Celis's face hardened. "Then we better make sure she's ready. And you too." Days turned into weeks. Lyra's body healed faster than expected, but her spirit was fragile. She was cautious around the rebels, unsure if they were friend or foe. Jace stayed close, his presence a constant anchor. Under Celis's care, Lyra began to regain strength, and more importantly began to trust again. The rebel station was rough, full of scars, both physical and emotional, but it was a haven compared to the cold judgment of the Coalition. Jace trained daily with the rebels, honing his skills and learning their ways. He knew that protecting Lyra would require more than shelter, it would require strength. One night, Lyra approached him in the dimly lit hallways, her voice barely a whisper. "Teach me." The request surprised him, but also ignited a fierce hope. "Teach you what?" "How to fight. To survive." Jace looked at the small figure before him, no longer just a frightened child, but someone ready to claim her place in the galaxy. "All right," he said, determination settling in his eyes. "But it's not just about fighting. It's about knowing why you fight. For family. For hope." Lyra nodded, the fire in her amber eyes blazing brighter. As training began, so did the whispers. Some rebels doubted the wisdom of sheltering a Ziraxi child. "She's dangerous," they said. "Bringing her here risks all of us." But Jace's resolve didn't waver. "She's not our enemy. She's one of us now." Lyra learned quickly how to move silently, how to defend herself without losing her kindness. Her powers, subtle but powerful, became a secret weapon, a beacon of hope the rebels had never expected. And through it all, the bond between her and Jace grew deeper. No longer just protector and ward, but something more. A family forged in the crucible of war and hope. Yet the Coalition's shadow loomed larger each day. Scouts had been spotted near the outpost's periphery. A strike could come at any moment. One evening, as Jace and Lyra trained under the fading glow of artificial stars, the alarms blared. "Breach," Celis shouted. "They're here." The rebels scrambled, weapons drawn, but the Coalition's forces were relentless. Jace grabbed Lyra's hand. "Stay close, we're getting out of here." The fight was brutal. Explosions rocked the station, fires spread. Amidst the chaos, Lyra's powers flared, waves of psychic energy that pushed back the invaders, buying precious time. But it wasn't enough. Jace led the survivors to an emergency shuttle. As the station shook, the shuttle launched into the void. Safe, for now. Floating in the cold silence of space, Jace held Lyra tightly. "We'll find another way," he promised. Lyra looked up, determination shining brighter than ever. Together. And together they faced an uncertain future, bound by trust, courage, and the refusal to give up. The emergency shuttle drifted silently through the dark void, a fragile bubble of light and life surrounded by endless stars. Jace sat beside Lyra, who was curled up against the cold metal wall, her violet skin faintly glowing under the dim emergency lighting. Though they had escaped the rebel outpost's destruction, the Coalition's pursuit was relentless, and their future more uncertain than ever. Jace's mind raced with questions. Where could they go next? How could he protect her when every corner of the galaxy seemed hostile? He looked down at Lyra's small, trembling hand in his own and steeled himself. "We're not alone," he whispered. "We just have to find the right allies." Lyra remained quiet, her amber eyes wide but weary. Jace had learned that her silence was often a shield, a way to guard against the trauma etched deep into her memory. Nightmares haunted her sleep, visions of fire and destruction, of family lost and a world torn apart. One night, as the shuttle drifted past a barren asteroid belt, Lyra finally spoke. "My home. Gone," she murmured, voice fragile. "They killed them. All but me." Jace's heart clenched. The stories of Ziraxi's suffering had become personal, no longer just distant news, but lived pain. "I'm sorry," he said softly, "but you're not alone anymore. I'm here." Lyra's lips quivered in a faint smile. "Thank you, Mom." The word surprised him, but in that moment it felt right. They charted a course toward the edge of Coalition space, aiming for a hidden settlement known only to a few, a place rumoured to welcome those who had nowhere else to turn. Jace called it Sanctuary, but Sanctuary was a gamble. As they neared the coordinates, the shuttle's sensors picked up an unknown vessel, a sleek black ship cutting through the void with deadly precision. Coalition forces had tracked them again. Jace tightened his grip on the controls. "Brace yourself." The black ship's weapons locked on, and a volley of plasma bolts erupted, striking the shuttle's hull. Alarms blared as systems failed, the shuttle spiralling toward the nearest moon of a rocky planet below. Jace fought to stabilize the descent, sweat beading on his brow. "Hold on, Lyra!" They crashed with a violent jolt, metal screeching against stone. The shuttle lay broken but intact, smoke billowing from ruptured engines. Jace helped Lyra from the wreckage. Her legs trembled, but she stood, fierce despite the pain. "We're not done yet," he said. The planet was harsh, a desert world with jagged cliffs and swirling dust storms. But it was their refuge now. Jace scavenged parts from the shuttle, determined to get it working again. Lyra explored cautiously, her senses alert to every sound and shadow. At night, under twin moons, they shared stories. Lyra of her lost world and family, Jace of battles fought and won, of a humanity that could be better. "You fought to save me," Lyra said softly one evening. "Why?" Jace looked at her, tired but resolute. "Because hope is worth fighting for. Because you deserve a chance." Days passed, and the planet's dangers tested them. Scavenger gangs roamed the wastelands, and strange predators lurked beneath the red sands, but together they survived. Lyra's abilities grew stronger. She could sense danger before it arrived, manipulate small bursts of energy to shield them. Jace trained her relentlessly, teaching her how to use her powers wisely, how to defend herself without losing the light inside her. One day, while exploring a ruined settlement, they found signs of other survivors, clues that they were not alone in their fight. Maybe Sanctuary isn't just a place, Jace mused. Maybe it's people, like us. Their fragile peace shattered when a Coalition patrol arrived, tracking heat signatures across the rocky plains. Jace and Lyra hid among the ruins, hearts pounding. The patrol was ruthless, sweeping the area with scanners and weapons. When one soldier spotted movement near their hiding spot, Jace stepped forward, hands raised. "Stop!" he shouted. "She's just a child!" The soldiers hesitated, tension crackling, but the commanding officer sneered. "A Zeraxi? Dangerous and illegal. We're taking her in." Jace's eyes blazed with defiance. "You'll have to go through me first." What followed was a desperate standoff, Jace holding the line while Lyra's powers surged. The air shimmered as she unleashed a pulse of energy that sent several soldiers sprawling, but she controlled it, not wanting to hurt anyone. The patrol retreated, stunned by the unexpected resistance. Jace knelt beside Lyra. "See? You're stronger than they think." Lyra smiled, hope rekindled. As they prepared to move again, Jace realized that their fight was bigger than survival. It was a battle to change hearts and minds, to prove that no child, no matter their origin, should be abandoned or feared. Together they would face the darkness. Together they would be the light. The rocky planet's barren landscape stretched endlessly beneath twin moons, casting long shadows over the wreckage of the Vanguard shuttle and the scattered remnants of a forgotten settlement. Jace and Lyra had been on the run for weeks, moving stealthily through hostile territory, haunted by the relentless pursuit of Coalition forces. But amid the harsh terrain and constant danger, something new was growing, a fragile hope. Their narrow escape from the Coalition patrol had become a turning point. Word of their resistance had begun to spread quietly among scattered colonies and rebel outposts. Some saw the story of a human protector and his alien ward as a symbol, a spark in the dark. One evening, as Jace and Lyra rested near a shallow cave, the quiet was broken by the low hum of an approaching ship. The pair froze, weapons ready, but the vessel's insignia caught Jace's eye, an emblem belonging to the Freeborn Coalition, a faction opposed to the authoritarian Coalition hunting them. The ship landed smoothly, and a small team emerged, led by Captain Mira Talon, a fierce leader known for her unwavering dedication to freedom and justice. "You're Jace Mallory," Mira said. eyes sharp but not unkind. "We've heard about you, about the girl." Jace nodded cautiously. "We need allies, a place to fight back." Mira's gaze softened. "You found one." Inside the Freeborn's outpost, a hidden stronghold carved into the cliffs, Jace introduced Lyra to the others. The rebels were a diverse group. Humans, aliens, former coalition soldiers who had chosen a different path. They welcomed Lyra with curiosity and warmth, no longer a dangerous alien child, but a symbol of unity. Lyra was shy at first, but slowly, her amber eyes brightened as she explored the outpost's gardens and training halls. Jace watched her with quiet pride. Here she could be more than a fugitive. She could be family. But even in this sanctuary, dangers lurked. Coalition spies had infiltrated the Freeborn network, and the threat of discovery was constant. One day, while training with Jace in the combat yard, Lyra noticed figures lurking near the perimeter. Her senses sharpened, an instinct honed by fear and survival. "We have company," she whispered. Jace immediately ordered the rebels to defensive positions. Mira and her team moved swiftly to counter the threat. A skirmish erupted outside the outpost walls. Blaster fire lit the dusk as coalition operatives tried to breach the defences. Lyra stood beside Jace, her powers a glowing shield that absorbed enemy blasts and protected her new family. The battle was fierce, but the Freeborn held their ground. After the last invader was driven off, Mira approached Lyra with a nod of respect. "You've got a warrior's heart," she said. Lyra smiled, feeling a fierce pride she had never known. That night, under the stars, the rebels gathered around a fire. Stories were shared, of losses, of hope, of the fight ahead. Jace spoke quietly with Mira about their next move. "We need to expose the Coalition's lies," Jace said. "Show the galaxy that the Zeraxi aren't enemies but victims." Mira agreed. "There's a broadcast station on the other side of the system. If we can get Lyra there, she can tell her story." Lyra listened, understanding the weight of the task. Her voice, once barely a whisper, was becoming a beacon. In the days that followed, Jace and Lyra trained relentlessly, preparing for the mission. Lyra's control over her powers grew stronger. She could manipulate energy, create protective barriers, and even sense the emotions of those around her. Jace marveled at her resilience. "You're more than just a survivor," he told her. "You're a leader." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "I want to help, to make things right." Together they planned their infiltration of the broadcast station, a dangerous journey deep into Coalition territory. The night before their departure, Jace sat with Lyra beneath the outpost's synthetic stars. "I'm proud of you," he said softly. "No matter what happens, you're not alone." Lyra reached up, touching his face gently. "Thank you, Mum." The word was no longer foreign. It was home. As dawn broke, they boarded a sleek Freeborn ship, engines humming with promise and danger. The path ahead was fraught with peril, but Jace and Lyra faced it together, bound by trust, love, and the unbreakable bonds they had built in the shadows. The fight for freedom was far from over, but with each step they carved a future where hope could survive. The sleek Freeborn ship sliced through the void, stars streaking past like whispers of distant dreams. Jace sat beside Lyra, her small hand curled tightly in his. Ahead lay the Coalition's broadcast station, a towering spire of steel and glass orbiting a gas giant, pulsing with propaganda and lies. Their mission was clear but perilous. Infiltrate, broadcast Lyra's truth to the galaxy, and ignite a spark of hope in the darkness. Jace's eyes scanned the ship's instruments as they approached the station's perimeter defences. "We'll have less than 10 minutes once we dock. Stay close. Stay focused." Lyra nodded, determination blazing in her amber eyes. "I'm ready." The docking bay was cold and sterile, patrolled by heavily armed guards who barely spared them a glance. The Freeborn had secured forged credentials, but tension crackled beneath the surface. One wrong move could end everything. Jace led the way, every step echoing in the vast corridors. Lyra's heart pounded, but she held her fear tight, focusing on the mission ahead. This was her chance, not just to survive, but to change the galaxy's story. Reaching the broadcast chamber, Jace hacked into the station systems while Lyra prepared to speak. Cameras swiveled, lights flared, and the galactic network awaited. People of the stars, Lyra began, voice steady but filled with raw emotion. I am Lyra of Zyrax, a child who has seen her world destroyed, her family lost and been labelled dangerous for simply living. But I am here to tell you the truth. We are not enemies. We are survivors, seeking peace. Her words rippled through the countless worlds tuned in, piercing through years of fear and prejudice. Images of Zyrax's ruined cities, her people suffering, played alongside her testimony, a story of pain, hope, and the courage to choose love over hate. Back in the corridors, alarms blared. Coalition forces had discovered the breach. Jace's fingers flew over the controls, buying time. Almost done, he said, voice tense. Lyra finished her message. Remember us not as monsters, but as children of the stars, yearning for a future where all beings can live in peace. As her final words echoed across the cosmos, Coalition soldiers burst into the chamber. Jace pulled Lyra toward the exit. Blaster fire erupted, the hallway becoming a storm of light and shadow. Lyra's powers surged, protective barriers shimmering as they pushed forward, shielding themselves and slowing their pursuers. They raced through the labyrinthine station, every step a desperate bid for freedom. Jace's mind calculated escape routes, but the Coalition was closing in fast. At the final airlock, Jace turned to Lyra. Go ahead, I'll hold them off. No, Lyra said firmly. We do this together. With a fierce cry, they pushed through the airlock into the ship's hangar. The freeborn ship was ready, engines roaring to life. Jace covered Lyra as she boarded, then leapt aboard just as the station's forces closed in. The ship blasted away, weaving through orbital defences. Behind them, the broadcast station erupted in controlled explosions, a final act of defiance by the freeborn rebels to cover their escape. Safe in the quiet of space, Lyra looked at Jace with tears shining in her eyes. You risked everything, she said softly. Jace smiled, exhaustion etched on his face. Because you're worth it. Their message had reached billions. Across the galaxy, the walls of fear and hatred began to crack. Months later, the galaxy was changing. Lyra stood on the bridge of a new ship surrounded by allies, humans, Ziraxi, and many others, united in a cause for peace. Jace stood beside her, proud and steadfast. Together they led efforts to rebuild what was broken, to heal wounds inflicted by war and suspicion. The Coalition's grip weakened as more worlds opened their hearts to the truth. One quiet evening, under the glow of distant stars, Lyra turned to Jace. Thank you for not leaving me, she said. Jace took her hand. I never would. In a universe vast and often cruel, two unlikely souls had found each other, proving that even in the darkest wreckage light could be born.